will take the national as well as the future anthem. Take our seat as we double that applause for the country's leading university of technology. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my Lord spiritual and temporal, leaders of our academic community, on behalf of our Vice Chancellor, I welcome you all to the 173rd in the inaugural lecture series of our great university. Today's lecture, with the title Environmental Quality Monitoring, Acts Taken Beyond Rhetoric, will be delivered by Ademola Festus Aiyesanmi, Professor of Environmental Chemistry. A round of applause for the inaugural lecturer. In consonance and tandem with the established tradition of this great university, today's ceremony will be presided over by our Vice Chancellor, Professor Adenike Temidayo Oladiji, Fellow, Academy of Science. A round of applause for Madam Vice Chancellor. The Vice Chancellor is joined by other principal officers of our great university. Professor Taiwo Timothy Amos is the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic. We welcome you, sir. Professor Sunday Samuel Oluyamo is the Deputy Vice Chancellor Development. We welcome you, sir. And the man who is always wearing 3 caps is the Secretary to Council, the Chief Scribe of our institution, as well as the Registrar, Mr. Charles Olusegun Adeleye. We welcome the Chancellor of the Exchequer, our bossa, Mr. Kehinde Oladeji. You are welcome, sir. And the custodian of the books of our great university, Dr. Robert Akinade Awoyemi. We welcome you, sir. We also welcome the Provost, College of Health Sciences, Professor Olusegun Ojo. You are welcome, sir. Of course, the dean of our various schools are led by the chairman committee of deans, who also doubles as the Dean School of Environmental Technology, Professor Isaac Olaniyi Aje. You are welcome, sir. Dean School of Agriculture and Agricultural Technology is Professor Oluwatoyin Faramade Oludaunsi. We welcome you, sir. Man. The Dean School of Basic Medical Sciences, Professor Akim Olalekun Lawal. You are welcome, sir. Member of Council and Dean School of Computing, Professor Boniface Kayode Alishe. You are welcome. We welcome Professor Adegoke Oladipo Melody, Dean Sese. You are welcome, sir. I understand he is also representing the Dean School CIME. For your information, the School of Engineering is now 2. We would be intimating you with this division in all our bulletins. The Dean School of Health and Mineral Sciences, Professor Adeleye Yekini Biodun Anifowose is also here. We welcome you, sir. The Dean School of Logistics and Innovation Technology, Professor Olayemi Simon Oke. You are welcome, sir. Dean School of Life Sciences, Professor Michael Olufemi Ashamoyu. We welcome you, sir. The Dean School of Physical Sciences, Professor Femi Barnabas Ademola. You are welcome, sir. The Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Professor Oluayo Bello Olusoji. We welcome you, sir. And the Dean that controls and commands the largest contingent of forces on this campus, Dean Student Affairs Division, Professor David Olanrewaju-Oke. We welcome you, sir. At this juncture, it is my singular honor and privilege to invite the very first female Vice Chancellor of this great university, Professor Adenike Oladiji, to deliver address. Madam Vice Chancellor.
Thank you. The Vice Chancellor, University of Ibadan, our own Professor Kayode Ademola, FES, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Development, the Registrar, the University Librarian, the Bossa, members of the University Governing Council here present, my lords spiritual and temporal, top government functionaries here present, the inaugural lecturer of today, Professor Ademola Festus Aiyesanmi, deans, directors, and heads of department, distinguished members of Senate and congregation, members of the FUTA alumni worldwide, eminent scholars and friends of the university, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to welcome you to the 173rd inaugural lecture of the Federal University of Technology, Akure. I warmly welcome our spiritual and traditional leaders, top government functionaries, captains of industries, friends of the university, and the entire staff and students of the university. I welcome with pleasure the immediate and extended family members, friends, and well-wishers of the inaugural lecturer. I felicitate Professor Ademola Festus Aiyesanmi on this academic milestone. May I, at this juncture, request the inaugural lecturer to please rise while I present his citation. Thank you. Ademola Festus Aiyesanmi was born on the 26th of October, 1966 in Odeayi, Ondo State. After his elementary Thereafter, in 1982, he proceeded to the Federal University of Technology, Accra, and became one of the 149 matriculated pioneer students of the university. At FUTA, he obtained B.Tech degree in industrial chemistry, second-class honors upper division, M.Tech in analytical chemistry, and PhD in environmental chemistry in 1987, 1992, and 2005, respectively. He was one of the first set of scholars produced by the university in 1986-1987 academic session and came out as the best graduating students of the Department of Chemistry. And this is a feat he achieved at both the B.Tech and the M.Tech programs. Ademola Festus Aiyesanmi also holds a health, safety, and environment competence certificate, level 3, from the Nigerian Institute of Safety Professionals in year 2000. And in year 2013, he also attended a certificate course in environmental monitoring and modeling at UNESCO IAG Institute for Water Education, Delft in the Netherlands. Ademola Festus Aiyesanmi joined the services of the Federal University of Technology, Accra, in 1989, first as graduate assistant, and then again in year 2000 as lecturer 1 in the Department of Chemistry. He was appointed professor in the year 2012. Professor Aiyesanmi has supervised over 28 master's dissertations and 19 doctoral theses. And this is in addition to many undergraduate students' projects. He has also served as external examiner to many universities in Nigeria, aside from being involved in the assessment of candidates for professorial cadre. Professor Aiyesanmi has authored and co-authored over 110 research journal articles in reputable peer-reviewed journals, conference proceedings, and books. He is a reviewer for academic and professional journals, as well as EIA reports for the Federal Ministry of Environment. Professor Aiyesanmi is a member of many professional bodies, which include the Institute of Public Analysts of Nigeria, Institute of Chartered Chemists of Nigeria, Chemical Society of Nigeria, Science Association of Nigeria, Nigerian Environmental Society, and International Phytotechnologies Society, USA. Professor Aiyesanmi has served the university in many capacities, some of which are serving as Associate Director, Pre-Degree Science Program between March 2008 and October 2010. He was Associate Director, Research and Publication for our Center for Research and Development, CERAD, from October 2012 to December 2013. He was member, University Ceremonials Committee between 2012 and 2017. Member, University Senate from 2012 to date. He was head of Department of Chemistry between August 2013 and July 2016. He was Dean, School of Sciences, Federal University of Technology, Accra, from August 2019 to July 2021, and also served as the Pioneer Dean for the School of Physical Sciences. Between 2021 and July 2023, he was Chairman, Committee of Deans, also here in FUTA, between August 2022 and July 2023. Professor Aiyesanmi is happily married, and the union is blessed with children. In an era of increasing threats to human existence as a result of environmental pollution and climate change, the role of environmental quality monitoring becomes increasingly critical as it serves as a cornerstone of sustainable development by guiding practices and policies. The lecture of today is expected to provide an insight into the efforts to provide the scientific basis for informed decision-making, promoting responsible resource management, and safeguarding ecosystems for future generations. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to present the 173rd inaugural lecture of the university titled Environmental Quality Monitoring, Act Taken Beyond Rhetoric. Please join me to welcome Professor Ademola Festus Aiyesanmi as he presents.
The Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellors, the Registrar and other principal officers of the university, deans and directors, heads of departments and units, members of Senate, distinguished professors, Royal Highnesses, my lords, spiritual and temporal, distinguished professionals and academic colleagues, distinguished guests and friends of the university, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, great Futurian. It gives me unprecedented honor and delight to stand before this distinguished audience this day to deliver the 173rd inaugural lecture of this great university, the Federal University of Technology, Akure. With your permission, Madam Vice Chancellor, I would like to start this discourse by returning all the glory and honor to God Almighty, who is worthy of all praises and adoration, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the one that makes a way where men say there is no way. Without him, I surely could not have made it at all, let alone make it this far. Standing before this auspicious audience to present this lecture today is an accomplished vision that no one in my lineage would have dreamed or imagined, but for the grace and benevolence of the omnipotent and the merciful God. To him, I return all the glory. This lecture is unique, being the first to be delivered in the core environmental chemistry option in the Department of Chemistry, FUTA, though the 10th inaugural lecture from the department. This lecture coming 12 years after my promotion to the rank of a full professor points to the fact that it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy. Romans 9, verse 16. The Vice Chancellor, distinguished academics and friends of our dear university, my educational journey started at an early age when my father handed me over to his friend and cousin, Mr. G.K. Adelokiki, who was the headmaster of the St. Gregory's RCM Primary School, Odeaye, to guide and encourage me. However, my attachment to my paternal grandmother of blessed memory made me to prefer enjoying her pampering most days than going to school. It was when I managed to get to primary 4 that I met a God-sent teacher, now Engineer J.N. Bambuye, who psyched me up and changed my perception towards schooling. And this brought a significant turn around to my academic performance. At the end of that session, I came out in first position, beating all the giants in the class. In my secondary school days, at Baptist Grammar School, Odeaye. Little was I known by most students until the final days during the valedictory service that the glory of God was made manifest upon me by being called out as the best student in physics, chemistry, and biology. This feat inspired the principal of the school, Mr. E.I. Akindele, of blessed memory, to pronounce me a future professor, and these, my colleagues and friends, did not allow to peter out uncelebrated as they started addressing me Prof until October 2012, when the prophecy eventually came to fulfillment. My coming to FUTA in 1982 to study industrial chemistry, when I could not secure admission into the Department of Civil Engineering at the University of Ife, was divine. Having emerged as best graduating student of the Department of Chemistry in 1987, I was offered appointment as graduate assistant in the department in 1989 and started my academic career. In 1987, when the terrain was so rough and the survivor was becoming elusive, I resigned my appointment to join a private company in Lagos. For the vision of God to be fulfilled in my life, I returned to the system on a fresh appointment after unsurmountable pressure from my father, whose only desire for me was to become a professor. However, the short exit was also divine because the experience gained outside there was a searchlight to advancement in my chosen area of research in chemistry. My research experience, spanning over 3 decades in environmental chemistry, centered mainly on environmental quality monitoring, as well as remediation of polluted environmental media. My interest in the subject of environmental monitoring and pollution control started with my undergraduate final year project in 1986-1987. The project was a fallout from the precarious condition that the people of Oktukpa and environs were facing from the discharge of Oktukpa oil palm meal effluents into the most valued Oluwa River. The research project actually came up before the general awareness on environmental pollution prevention in Nigeria, triggered by the toxic waste dumping in Cocoa community in Delta State in 1988. The Vice Chancellor. In an era marked by escalating environmental concerns, the concept of environmental quality monitoring stands as a crucial pillar in the quest for sustainable development. While discussion on environmental protection often abound, the translation of rhetoric into tangible action remains paramount. Over the years, I have been involved in the monitoring of the ecosphere for chemical contaminants inputs individually and in collaboration with other researchers, crossing the limit of lip service. Therefore, I have carefully chosen the title of this inaugural lecture as Environmental Quality Monitoring Act, taken beyond rhetorics. For clear understanding of the focus of this lecture, it is apposite to have an overview of some of the key words, which include environment, environmental pollution, environmental quality, and monitoring the environment. There have been different definitions of the concept of environment by different scholars and organized bodies or agencies. While some view the environment from an ecocentric and nature standpoint, others assign an anthropocentric or human-related connotation to the term. Bondarsky 2010, USEPA 2015. Section 37 of the National Environmental Standards and Regulation Enforcement Agency Act 2007 defines the environment to include water, air, land, and all plants and human beings and or animals living therein, and the interrelationship which exists among these or any of them, NESRA 2007. Human beings are totally dependent on the environment for life itself. The atmosphere provides us with the air we breathe. The hydrosphere provides the water we drink, and the soil of the lithosphere provides us with the fruits and vegetables we eat. Furthermore, the environment provides us with the raw materials to fulfill human daily survival and development needs. Man's interaction with the environment. Although early human beings undoubtedly lived in some harmonies with the environment, as did other animals, their retreat from the wilderness began with the first prehistoric agricultural revolution. In man's quest for industrial development, he invented technologies for processing raw materials for utilizable finished products. Metals are mined for various uses, and mineral oil is mined for energy supply. Many products, including chemicals, are produced for domestic, agricultural, and industrial uses. Kiga 2021. The dark side of most anthropogenic development, however, has been unintended adverse impact on the environment and on living and non-living resources. These include deforestation, desertification, erosion, climate change, depletion of the stratospheric ozone layer, as well as a multimedia environmental pollution from industrial activities, poor waste management, etc., which have made the earth to nearly exceed his carrying capacity, while humans are becoming almost endangered species. Environmental pollution. Of great concern, among the impacts of human activities on the total environment are pollution and imbalanced resource use, problems that cut across both developed and developing nations of the world. Pollution is defined as the contamination of Earth's environment with materials that interfere with human health, the quality of life, or the natural functioning of ecosystem. Brazil et al. 2019. Pollution touches all parts of the planet, and it is the largest environmental cause of disease and premature death in the world today. It affects our health through the food we eat, the water we drink, and the air we breathe. The World Health Organization estimates that 23% of all deaths worldwide, amounting to 12.6 million in 2012, are due to environmental risk, UNEP 2022. Environmental pollution also significantly impacts biodiversity, leading to habitat destruction, species extinction, and ecosystem imbalances. Broadly speaking, pollution can be classified as air, water, and soil pollution, while other forms of pollution include electromagnetic pollution, littering, plastic pollution, radioactive contamination, thermal pollution, and noise pollution. Air pollution is the term used to describe the presence in the atmosphere of one or more air contaminants in quantities and characteristics for a duration that will be injurious to or unreasonably interfere with public health and welfare or other natural environmental processes. Jaffa et al. 2021. Road transportation and burning of refuse, emission from domestic, commercial, and industrial activities, burning of natural vegetations, as well as spraying of pesticides and herbicides are known as the main sources of air pollution. Figure 1 and 2. Wang et al. 2010, UNEP 2011. Water pollution is the most often polluted of the environmental phases are the aquatic system, especially the surface water, because contaminants in air, soil, or land ultimately end up in the aquatic system via local precipitation, water runoff, and leaching of rocks and solid waste. Figure 3, Pepper et al. 1996. The groundwater too is not spared as contaminants get to the water table via percolation. Aiyesanmi et al. 2004. There are two categories of sources of water pollution. Point source water pollution occurs where pollution comes from a specific identifiable source, such as sewage pipe or factory waste pipe. Figure 4. And diffuse water pollution caused by various sources which are often hard to identify. Soil or land pollution refers to the presence of toxic chemicals in soil in high enough concentration to pose a risk to plants, human health, and or the ecosystem. FAO and ITPS 2015. Environmental quality standard. One of the various definitions regards environmental quality standard as a type of legally binding policy instrument that are imposed to remedy the environmental impact of emission sources, SEPA 2023. An environmental quality standard may, for example, lay down the maximum allowable concentration for specific substances in air, soil, or water below which no adverse impact on the medium occurs. White House 2001. Available environmental quality standards for water include, among others, water quality standard by WHO, the European Union, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Food and Agricultural Organization, and the Standard Organization of Nigeria, WHO 2017, USEPA 2003A, SON 2015. Air quality standards include WHO Global Air Quality Guidelines, National Air Quality Standard of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and the Nigeria Interim Ambient Air Quality Standard for particulates and gaseous emission. Tables 1, 2, and 3. WHO 2021, USEPA OAR 2014, FEPA 1991. Different standards for soil quality also exist, USDA 2019, while other standards bordering on control of pollution have also been developed by some individual nations, including Nigeria. Environmental monitoring. The United Nations Environment Program defines environmental monitoring as the systematic collection of environmental data through a series of repetitive measurements. UNEP 1996. Environmental monitoring provides data that permits the analysis and evaluation of contaminants or pollutant concentrations in environmental samples relevant to human exposure, primarily in in air, water, sediment, soil, agricultural produce, and natural foodstuff, as well as bioindicators that concentrate contaminants and provide a measure of a trend in toxicity levels. In general, environmental monitoring typically comprises 4 phases, including sample collection, sample preparation, sample analysis, and validation, and data analysis and interpretation / reporting. Sampling is the process of obtaining a small representative portion of a substance from a large population of the substance. The importance of valid, accurate sampling in the overall monitoring process cannot be overemphasized. An improperly collected sample can only yield invalid and useless results, no matter the quality control that may be deployed in the subsequent analysis steps. Sample preparation is critical in chemical analysis, and this is required because most samples do not occur in a form in which the analyte can be directly determined by the chosen techniques without further treatment of the sample. Choice of analytical techniques is a major step in environmental monitoring. Factors which influence the choice of analytical techniques are the suspected level of analyte in the sample, matrix of sample, degree of accuracy / precision required, and the number of samples / cost of analysis. Table 4 presents a number of the most common parameters usually determined in water, sediment, air, and biota. Magnuson and Schema 2005, APH 2012. Data analysis and reporting play crucial roles in environmental monitoring by providing valuable insights into the state of the environment and supporting evidence-based decision-making for environmental management and conservation efforts. There are available methods being used for reducing the dimensionality of data with the primary goal of extracting the maximum amount of useful knowledge from the data. These include descriptive statistics, tables, graphs, charts, maps, trend analysis, spatial analysis, and multivariate analysis, Gordon 2005. 4. Environmental monitoring requires typically include summaries of findings, interpretation of results, and recommendation for action, USEPA 2016. Quality assurance and quality control in environmental monitoring. Quality assurance and quality control are essential components of environmental monitoring, ensuring accuracy, reliability, and consistency in data collection and analysis, UNEP 2002. Quality assurance focuses on the processes and procedure used to generate data, while quality control involves activities to verify the quality of the data collected. My research trajectories and the contribution to knowledge. The Vice Chancellor. My research efforts in the past 3 decades on environmental monitoring has been carried out with hard-nosed approach as an individual and in collaboration with other researchers in my unit, most of whom are my graduates and postgraduate students. Areas covered include air, water, sediment, and soil quality monitoring, as well as heavy metals, persistent organic pollutants, microplastic monitoring in environmental multimedia, and in aquatic and terrestrial biota. Other areas of research contributions are in our efforts to remediate potentially contaminated or polluted environmental media. Air quality monitoring. Air is never found clean in nature due to natural and human activities. Thus, monitoring air quality is a critical component of environmental health and management. Amao, Ajayi, and Aiyesanmi and Akini Festus 2016 conducted an outdoor air quality and acid rain monitoring within Warri Refinery and its environment in Delta State, Nigeria. The aim was to assess the impact of Warri Refinery operations on its immediate and surrounding environment. The study revealed the presence of benzene, toluene, and hydrogen sulfide within the outdoor air of the refinery and its environment, though at concentration lower than their regulatory limits. In related studies, seasonal concentration of some airborne particulates, including ozone, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, and suspended particulate matter in ambient air of Warri, Ughelli, and Sapele in Delta State were investigated. Ifezwe Aiyesanmi et al. 2021 and Ifezwe Aiyesanmi and Sunday 2021. The study revealed mean concentration of ozone, nitrogen dioxide, and sulfur dioxide ranging between below and above national and international ambient air quality standards, while the concentrations of the particulate matter exceeded their ambient limits. The control station recorded values below instrument detention limits for all the pollutant gases, but having particulate matter concentration in the same range as the study area, thus enunciating the impact of urbanization on ambient gaseous air quality. Table 5. Of great concern is the occurrence of particulate matter, PM 2.5, in such high concentration in the ambient air. These particles can penetrate the respiratory system and cause cardiovascular and respiratory diseases. Health Effects Institute 2020, USEPA 2023b. Water Quality Assessment. A reliable and safe supply of water is a prerequisite for good standard of living. Unfortunately, it has been observed that people use water from sources that are readily available, not necessarily caring about the quality. Some use water from shallow dug wells, sometimes close to dump sites and septic tanks, ponds, streams, rivers, and other untreated water sources where the purity of the water is in doubt, hence standing the risk of infection. Groundwater monitoring. Aiyesanmi et al. 2004 carried out grand geochemical characterization of groundwater system within the Otukwa Southeast belt of the bitumen sand field of Nigeria. The study revealed the prevailing quality status of the water resource as it were. Low pH values characterized most of the groundwater samples, while other physicochemical parameters, including some heavy metals, showed varying concentration below and above WHO guideline for drinking water. Table 7. Occurrence of some of the monitored heavy metals in samples of bituminous sands from the study area was earlier reported by Aiyesanmi and Ademola 2001. Hence, their presence in the groundwater system was attributed to the soil mineralogy facilitated by the low pH conditions of the groundwater. Since full exploitation of bitumen are yet to commence in the area, data from this study provide important baseline information on the groundwater quality, with which impact of future bitumen mining could be progressively monitored. The Vice Chancellor. There is this common saying that there is water everywhere, but none for drinking. This is peculiar to inhabitants of the coastal areas, especially in Ondo State, where people living on water could not have access to potable water. Rather, they depend on shallow dug wells along river banks and floodplains for their sources of drinking water. Aiyesanmi and Tomori, 2005, evaluated the quality of drinking water from such wells in the coastal areas of Ondo State, Nigeria, covering 21 communities. Although the water physicochemical characteristics met WHO standard for drinking water, but the detected potentially toxic metals in the samples showed concentration above their permissible limit, thus indicating the unwholesomeness of accessible water to the inhabitants of this area. Surface water monitoring. Surface water bodies are often used as sources of water supply by most rural dwellers that have no access to public water supply or boreholes. Aiyesanmi et al. 2003 reported on the baseline quality of surface water bodies being used as sources of domestic water supply in the Otukwa Southeast belt of the bitumen sand field of Nigeria. Similarly, Aiyesanmi et al. 2006 and Aiyesanmi 2006 reported on the water quality and chemical pollutants load of the major rivers, including Oluwa, Omila, Uhore, Ongo, and Ofe within the study area. Pratt's classification of surface water quality showed that the waters fall within acceptable quality on an average scale of the indicator parameters, while most measured physicochemical parameters satisfy both national and international standards for drinking water and other water uses. However, measured concentration of heavy metals in the samples range between below and above their regulatory limits. Aiyesanmi and Ademola 1997 and Akinyele Ajayi and Aiyesanmi 2009 monitored the impact of discharge of Otukwa Oil Palm Company and Ipoke oil mill effluents into the surrounding rivers at Otukwa and Ipoke in Ondo State, Nigeria. Apart from the discharge causing depletion of the soft oxygen as a result of high biochemical oxygen demand and chemical oxygen demand load, the thin film of oil on the water caused oil slicks, unpleasant odor, lowered water pH, and other bioactivities that were detrimental to the aquatic life. A cost-effective treatment technique for the recovery of residual oil from the effluent before their discharge was, however, proposed. Aiyesanmi and Ademola 1997. Heavy metals monitoring in aquatic sediments. Aiyesanmi 2008 monitor heavy metals distribution in sediment of Omila, Uhore, Oluwa, and Ongo rivers within the Otukwa Southeast belt of the Nigerian bituminous sand field. Varying concentration of these metals were recorded, while the significant correlation that existed between some of the metals suggested that they were more of lithological or crustal origin. The study also provided baseline data needed for future anthropogenic impacts of bitumen exploration and production on the river sediments. The Vice Chancellor. The major and important river, Ala River, that traverses through the entire length and breadth of Akure metropolis has been identified as a major sink to municipal runoff and cocktail of domestic and municipal waste that are indiscriminately disposed at its banks, thus making the river vulnerable to pollution. To assess the impact of these anthropogenic influences on the river, seasonal variation and spatial distribution of heavy metals in the river sediment were monitored. Samples of the sediment taken along the course of the river were analyzed for cadmium, chromium, cobalt, copper, iron, nickel, lead, and zinc using inductive coupled plasma optical emission spectroscopy. Quality assessment using pollution indices such as geoaccumulation index, enrichment factor, contamination factor, pollution loading index, and potentially ecological risk index showed that the sediment was heavily contaminated with cadmium, chromium, lead, and zinc. Assessing the bioavailability of metals in the sediment samples using sequential extraction procedure revealed varied distribution of cadmium, chromium, copper, nickel, and lead among the chemical fractions, with substantial concentrations of the metals appearing in the more labile fractions, figure 8, indicating possible bioavailability of the metals to benthic organisms. Aiyesanmi et al. 2010, about Aiyesanmi et al. 2013, about Aiyesanmi et al. 2016A, 2016B. The observed results called for adequate protection of the river to prevent it from further deterioration. Similarly, studies of the impact of Egbin power plant on the levels of heavy metals in the sediment of the Lagos Lagoon revealed high concentration of arsenic, cadmium, chromium, mercury, lead, and zinc as a result of the activities of the power plant. Idowu Olonimoyo, Idowu and Aiyesanmi 2020. Heavy metals monitoring in soil. Soil is a vital natural resource with numerous roles essential for life on Earth. Protecting and managing soil health is crucial for sustaining ecosystem, ensuring food security, and mitigating environmental challenges. As such, monitoring and management of soil quality are essential to maintaining the balance and health of our planet's ecosystem. Aiyesanmi 2005 assessed the impact of oil exploration and production on the Niger Delta by monitoring the level of some heavy metals in soils of Robokri oil field in Rivers State, Nigeria. Heavy metals measured in the soil showed varying concentration among sample locations within the field. Contamination stroke pollution appraisal of the determined heavy metals revealed slightly contaminated soil. The extent of soil pollution by potentially toxic elements, especially from dump sites, is alarming, and their bioavailability is of concern. Aiyesanmi et al. 2008 investigated the partition of some trace metals in soils of 3 dump sites in Akure. Application of sequential extraction procedure revealed that the majority of the metals were found dominant in the non-residual fraction, making them more bioavailable for plant uptake. Aquacodium, Lajide and Aiyesanmi 2010, 2012A, 2012B, and 2013A investigated the influence of fungicide use on soil contamination by heavy metals. The studies were conducted on soils of a fungicide-treated cocoa plantation in Cross River, Ondo, and Ogun States, Nigeria. Heavy metals including copper, zinc, cadmium, and lead were analyzed in the soil samples and appraised using various pollution indices. The obtained results revealed that all the studied cocoa plantations were contaminated with copper, while zinc, cadmium, and lead were most likely to be from natural sources. Speciation study showed the organic fraction to be the most abundant pool for copper and zinc, extractable fraction for lead, while cadmium was dominant in the residual fraction. Lead appeared the most mobile and bioavailable of these metals in the studied soils. Table 14. The Vice Chancellor. Dry season farming along floodplains of rivers under the World Bank-sponsored Fadama agricultural project is a common practice in Nigeria and in Ondo State in particular. Afolabi 2010. The floodplains are frequently inundated with materials from nearby river with subsequent fluvial deposition during the rainy season, thus acting as sink for suspended matters including toxic, inorganic, and organic substances via sedimentation. Studies on the assessment of impact of river deposition on potentially toxic chemicals burden of some river floodplains within Ondo and Ekiti State have been carried out. Floodplains studied include those from Owena, Ala, and Ogbese rivers in Ondo Central District, Onukun River in Oktubupa, and rivers in Rinta, Omieye, and Egbubo in Ekiti State. The studies revealed the occurrence of potentially toxic metals in the alluvial soils at varying concentration, of which the greater percentage were dominant in the non-residual fraction, thus making them more mobile and readily available for plants uptake. Figures 10, 11, and 12. Father Yutimi Aiyesanmi Eto, 2017, 2019. Mother Uchi Dowu and Aiyesanmi 2019, Aiyesanmi Eto 2020, Akodo Aiyesanmi Atomori 2022, 2023. Pesticide residue monitoring. Pesticide residue refer to the traces of chemicals, insecticide, herbicide, rodenticides, and fungicides that remain on or in food after they have been applied to crops. This residue can also be found in soil, water, and non-target organisms. The presence of pesticide residue is a major public health concern because of the potential adverse effects on human health, including chronic diseases, endocrine disruption, cancer, and other toxic effects. The Vice Chancellor. In the course of my research voyage, my collaborators and I have engaged in monitoring of these potentially toxic organic pollutants in different environmental media within Ondo, Ekiti, Ogun, and Cross River states. Our studies on some cocoa farms in these states focus on the assessment of the levels of organophosphorus and organochlorine pesticide residue in farms, soil, cocoa beans, and pod, as well as surface waters and sediment within and around farmlands. Our study on some cocoa farms in the central district of Ondo State revealed concentration of diazinon organophosphorus pesticide in soil samples ranging between 0.013 and 0.323 milligram per kg. Water samples from rivers within and around the farms gave the highest diazinon concentration of 0.417 milligram per liter, while the highest concentration measured in the sediment was 0.208 milligram per kg. Also, analysis of organophosphorus pesticide residue in water and sediment from Ogbese, Elemi, and Ero rivers in Ekiti State showed that all the analyzed samples were contaminated. Diclofos and mevifos in the water samples exceeded maximum allowable residue limit of 0.10 microgram per liter for individual pesticides in drinking water as prescribed by European Economic Community. Also, about 40% of cocoa beans sampled from Ondo State farms had detectable diazinon residues with concentration far higher than the maximum residue limit in cocoa beans. Similar studies of cocoa farms in Ekiti State show the detection of diclofos, mevifos, diazinon, and parathion at varying concentrations, while samples from Ogun and Cross River states reveal no detectable level of the organophosphorus pesticides in cocoa beans. Aiyesanmi Anido 2012A, Akoko on Lajide and Aiyesanmi Eto 2012, Ebigbami Aiyesanmi Eto 2013, 15A, 15B, 2016, 2017A, Adesina Akenawu and Aiyesanmi 2019. Similarly, investigation on organochlorine pesticide residue in soils of cocoa farms in the Ondo State Central District showed endosulfan 1 and 2 to occur most frequently and at high concentration. Other organochlorine compounds monitored were detected in the soil, but at low concentrations. 10 organochlorine pesticides residue, including alpha, beta, and delta benzene hexachloride, heptachlor, epoxide, adrene, dedrine, edrine, endosulfan 1 and 2 were detected in cocoa beans in the area with concentration exceeding their maximum residue limit. Endosulfan, DDT, and DDT metabolites were also detected in cocoa beans from other parts of Ondo, Ogun, and Cross River states, figure 13. River water and sediment samples around the farms also reveal endosulfan isomers to be the most frequently detected pesticide residue and at high concentration, posing a risk to human and aquatic life, and provide indication of wrong use of the pesticides on the various farmlands. Akoko on Lajide Aiyesanmi and Dakote 2012, Akoko on Lajide and Aiyesanmi 2012, Aiyesanmi and Ido 2012B, Ido Aiyesanmi and Owolabi 2013, Ido Aiyesanmi and Oyegeko 2022. In Ekiti State, soils of 9 monitored cocoa farms covering the 3 sectoral districts showed OCP's concentration ranging from below detection limit to 894 microgram per kg. High concentration of some of the contaminants in the soil are of great concern because of the potential dangers they may pose in the soil organisms and their possible translocation into edible parts of crops. Organochlorine pesticide residue were also detected in water and sediment samples from Ogbese, Elemi, and Ero rivers within the study area, with mean concentration above the maximum acceptable concentration for the protection of the aquatic environment and drinking water. 2015A, 2015B, and 2017B. Investigation of OCP's levels in the alluvial soil of Onuku River floodplain showed the occurrence of all the OCP's residue analyzed, table 19. The field data proved that the sampled area was contaminated with trace amount of OCPs, thus making it inevitable to conduct regular monitoring of the soil of the site as long as it is being used for dry season farming. Aiyesanmi 2021. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons monitoring. PARS, a group of organic compounds composed of carbon and hydrogen atoms arranged in multiple aromatic rings. They are of particular interest due to their environmental and health implications and are closely monitored and regulated by environmental agencies worldwide. The Vice Chancellor. My collaborators and I had attempted to monitor the distribution and levels of PARS in some of our immediate ecosystem. Some of the studies include, among others, investigation on the contamination of soils from cultivated floodplains of Onuku River in Noktupa and Inita, Omieye, and Ebubu rivers in Ekiti State by PARS, as well as a contamination of Ala River sediment in Akure metropolis. PARS diagnostic ratio and cluster analysis implicated both petrogenic and pyrogenic sources of PARS in the floodplain soils and Ala River sediment. The observed levels of these pollutants in the soil calls for their regular monitoring in the floodplain soils to protect human health as long as they are being cultivated. About Aiyesanmi 2016, Aiyesanmi 2021, Akodo Aiyesanmi and Tomori 2023. Potentially toxic chemicals monitoring in biota. The Vice Chancellor. My research endeavor over the years has also considered the incidence of chemical pollutants in biota. Tomori Aiyesanmi and Obijole 2004 reported on some heavy metals level in 10 fish species from the Lagos Lagoon. Olowoyo, Ajayi, Amao, and Aiyesanmi 2010 monitors seasonal variations in concentration of lead, nickel, iron, and cadmium in catchfish, blue crab, and crayfish from the coastal water of Warri, Delta State. While Olushola and Aiyesanmi 2015A, 2015B monitored the levels of chromium, cadmium, lead, copper, zinc, and nickel in whole fish and organs of marine fish species from the coastal waters of Ondo State. In the Lagos Lagoon fish species, lower values of the metals compared to their maximum permissible levels for fish modules set by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration were recorded. In the coastal water of Warri, concentration of the metals determined varied with locations and species, with the highest concentration of cadmium and lead in the fish and shellfish samples, which accentuates trepidation as these metals are well known for their high toxicity. In the Ondo State coastal water, high concentration of the metals were found in gill and eye compared to their other organs. Apart from lead, evidence of bioaccumulation in fish was obtained for all the elements with respect to their concentration in the water, while only cadmium and nickel were bioaccumulated with respect to their concentrations in the sediment, figure 16. High concentration of cadmium and lead recorded in the fish tissues constitute potential health hazards to the consumers. It is on record that some of the leafy vegetables available in most Nigerian markets today are sourced from cultivated lands around waste dump sites and floodplains that are rich in organic matter content. Paradoxically, most of these sources are noted for being contaminated with heavy metals and toxic organic pollutants. On this premise, Aiyesanmi and Idowu 2012 carried out an investigation on the levels of heavy metals in leafy vegetable grown around waste dump sites in Akure. Samples of two common edible vegetables, Amaratus spinosus and Talinum tragulae, harvested from 3 waste dump sites were analyzed for cadmium, cobalt, copper, nickel, lead, and zinc. High concentration of all the metals were detected in the 2 vegetable plants, with cadmium and lead more bioaccumulated in A. spinosus. The concentration of the metals in shoot of the vegetables, that is the edible parts, were found to be much higher than the maximum allowable by FAO, so WHO, for human health protections, underpinning the need to discourage the fetching of vegetables and other edible crops from around waste dump sites. In a related study, Aiyesanmi et al. 2020 assessed the levels of heavy metals in leafy vegetables, Emeritus hybridus, from farmlands on selected floodplains in Akure and its environment. The result, table 20, showed concentration below detection limit for cadmium and lead, while copper, chromium, and nickel had varied concentration in the plant fetched from different locations. The vegetable from farmlands in Akure recorded higher concentration of copper and nickel than those from Ogbese and Ilara, while the highest concentration of chromium was recorded at Ogbese. Further, in our investigation of impact of pesticide use on cocoa farms on the surrounding environmental multimedia, fish samples from rivers within and around cocoa farms were assessed for the occurrence by accumulation and potential health risks of pesticide residue. Our studies on Ogbese, Ero, and Elemi rivers in Ekiti State revealed contamination of the fish samples with OCPs and OPPs residue, but with concentration of all the individual pesticide residue detected falling below their residue limits in fish and seafood set by the Codex Alimentarius Commission of FAO WHO, with low estimated daily intake and hazard index. However, the detection of this pesticide residue in the fish samples further calls for vigilance and proper use of pesticide in cocoa farms. Ibibami, Aiyesanmi et al. 2015A, 2015B, 2016. Microplastic monitoring in the environment. The Vice Chancellor. My most recent studies, in collaboration with other researchers, have centered on monitoring of the environmental fate of microplastics. Study by Aiyesanmi et al. 2024 discovered the excessive microplastic pollution of water, sediment, and fish samples in Ocean River. Microplastics were detected in the river's water at the maximum count of 22,079 particles per liter, representing the highest reported so far for a river water globally, while microplastic ranging from 4.07 to 1,697.1 particles in the gastrointestinal tract of 6 fish species from the rivers were also recorded. We recognize the uncontrolled and indiscriminate disposal of single-use plastics as a key factor responsible for the level of microplastic pollution of the Osun River. Hence, our further advocacy for the banning of single-use plastic in Nigeria. We have also investigated the microplastic and mesoplastic jointly in water, sediment, and fish species from 5 communities in the coastal area of Ondo State. High levels of plastic particles were recorded in the water and coastal sediment samples. Microplastics were also discovered in the gastrointestinal tract of every single individual of the 4 fish species investigated. Idowu Olanipekun Aiyesanmi et al. 2024, Olanipekun Aiyesanmi et al. 2024. In a related study, Shokumbi, Idowu, Aiyesanmi, and Davidson 2024 investigated the presence, abundance, and distribution of microplastics and associated potentially toxic elements in sediment of the river Kelvin, Central Scotland, United Kingdom. Abundance of the microplastic generally increased from the most upstream localities to the most downstream sampling points, which was closer to industrial and other anthropogenic influences, figure 17. Fibers were most abundant in all sampling locations, with red, blue, and black being the predominant microplastic colors detected, figure 18. Larger polymer fragments were identified as polypropylene and polyethylene, figure 19. Water and wastewater treatment. The availability of clean and uncontaminated water is an indispensable necessity for human life. Hence, unwholesome water needs to be treated for the removal of harmful substances, including toxic metals. My contribution, in collaboration with other researchers in this regard, include evaluation of the absorption capacity of oyster and snail shell powder, adsorbents, and waste plant materials for the removal of lead, nickel, cadmium, and chromium ions from aqueous solution. Ajayi Aiyesanmi et al. 2005, Okuroko Aiyesanmi et al. 2009, Aiyesanmi et al. 2013, Olasukomi Okoronko Aiyesanmi et al. 2014, Babalola Aiyesanmi et al. 2019, Aiyesanmi Adebayo and Adewojobe 2020, Adewojobe Aiyesanmi and Adebayo 2021, Aiyesanmi Adebayo and Father 2022, Aiyesanmi et al. 2022. Soil remediation. Another area of my research program is in the remediation of contaminated soil using plant biomass. Aiyesanmi et al. 2012, Okoroko Aiyesanmi et al. 2014, and Aiyesanmi et al. 2021 have reported on the potential of some tropical weeds for the removal of highly toxic lead and cadmium from contaminated soils. The plants studied include Samson weed, nodeweed, water leaf, and goat weed. The result of these studies show that the plants are good phytoremediator for real-time removal of lead and cadmium from contaminated soils. Treatment of the plant biomass after the remediation process for the recovery of the metals was also demonstrated. Conclusion. The Vice Chancellor and distinguished audience, it has been established in many research exertions that our ecosphere is contaminated, if not polluted, as a result of the carefree attitude of human towards the environment, which calls for concerted efforts towards amelioration. However, a meaningful approach to this will rely on environmental data generated from assessment and monitoring programs nationally, regionally, or locally conducted. Reliable environmental data are necessary for use by government as well as by individual, public, and private sectors to frame policies and to set priorities and to assess results. The need to use such data for early warning, that is, given advance information of potential adverse environmental events or situation before it happens, or as basis to monitor environmental performance, has become increasingly recognized as an institutional requirement for sustainable development plan. Therefore, environmental quality monitoring represents a lead pin in the pursuit of sustainable development and environmental justice. In the course of this lecture, I have been able to provide useful and much needed information to the database of the quality status of our environment, including air, the aquatic environment, soil, and biota that were generated through pragmatic monitoring approach taken beyond ordinary rhetoric. Findings from the efforts have identified some areas of the studied ecosphere to be green, of which the data could serve as baseline information for future environmental performance evaluation, while some areas have been red flagged as accentuating trepidation, hence call for more vigilance and remedial actions. Recommendations. The journey towards meaningful environmental quality monitoring is not without its challenges. Budgetary constraints, inadequate facilities, political inertias, vested interests, and competing priorities often hinder the implementation of robust monitoring system and the enforcement of environmental regulations. Overcoming these barriers and to enhance environmental monitoring in Nigeria, the following recommendations, among others, are set forth. 1. To complement the efforts of policy enforcement of environmental regulatory agencies in Nigeria, the federal government should establish environmental monitoring centers with functional analytical laboratories in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, to be saddled with the responsibility of regular monitoring programs covering key parameters such as air quality, water quality, soil health, biodiversity, and climate indicators. These centers are to be coordinated by the National Environmental Standards, Regulations, and Enforcement Agency. 2. There should be a regular review of existing environmental regulations and standards in the country for more stringent ones based on monitoring data and scientific research that will also address emerging pollutants in our environment. 3. Environmental regulators should always carry out their mandates in such a manner to foster good relationship between them and industries generating waste. Government at all levels should avoid multi-taxation of industries on environmental related matters to encourage industries to carry out their mandatory role of maintaining sustainable operations within their immediate environment. 4. There is the need for the federal government to improve funding of research initiatives aimed at improving environmental monitoring techniques and methodologies and predictive modeling capabilities. Government should also foster collaboration between government agencies, research institutions, and private sectors partners to advance scientific knowledge and innovation in environmental monitoring. 5. Industry should engage in capacity building by investing in the training and education for staff involved in monitoring activities, ensuring they have the necessary skills and knowledge to collect, analyze, and interpret data accurately. 6. Cultivation of lands proximal to waste dump sites should be discouraged, as crops from such farms are vulnerable to contamination with potentially toxic metals and organic compounds, which may have adverse effects on the health of consumers of the produce. 7. The banning of a polystyrene single-use plastic by some states in the country and recently by the Federal Executive Council in MDAs to halt the menace of plastic pollution in the country is a welcome development. However, this step should go beyond rhetoric. It should be properly legislated and the policy enforced at all levels of governance. Acknowledgement. And Nathanael said unto him, Can any good thing come out of Nazareth? Philip said unto him, Come and see. John 1:46. What a summary of a child of destiny, whom the Almighty God lifted from the merry clay and set on the mountaintop to sit and with the kings and nobles. I give all praises, honor, and adoration to my Creator, the King of kings and the Lord of lords. The Vice Chancellor. Permit me to recognize and appreciate individuals, friends, colleagues, corporate organizations, institutions, and family members who have contributed personally and severally to my educational development, thereby making me what I am today. First of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to my parents, Prof. Felix Olamigoke Aiyesanmi and late Madam Ademola Aiyesanmi, for their unwavering support, endless love, and tireless effort that formed the foundation of all my achievements. Bami, your wisdom, constant encouragement, and belief in my potential have given me the confidence to pursue my dreams. I'm grateful to you, sir. To my mother, a woman with many caps, your hard work and sacrifices provided me with the opportunities and resources needed to succeed. Unfortunately, you left us so early, being denied of the opportunity to reap the fruit of your labor. But your memory lingers on in my heart. Rest on, Yemi. I appreciate all my siblings as listed. I thank you all for your continued support, love, prayers, and cooperation to keep the family together. I also acknowledge with thanks the contribution of my uncles, aunties, nieces, nephews, and cousins towards achieving this feat. In particular, I appreciate the contribution of Mr. Banji Anthony Aiyesanmi, late Francis Omosaye Fakwetu, and many others from Aiyesanmi and Akingbade family. Thank you all. The entire Ojomo family of Odeaye Kingdom, I appreciate you all. I wish to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude to my father-in-laws and mother-in-law, Pa Julius Idowu Oladonyi Bamishayemi and Mama Foluke Adoni, both of blessed memory, for producing the best woman that I married as wife. To my brother-in-laws, Mr. Emmanuel Ayodele Oladonyi and Honorable Olanyika Oladonyi Bamishayemi, former Commissioner for Education, Osun State, I am incredibly grateful for your wisdom and guidance that have been invaluable in the life of my family. To all others from Ile-Ife, thank you for being such wonderful in-laws and for everything you do. I'm deeply grateful to all my teachers in primary school, among whom are Mr. G.K. Adelokiki, who took me to school at an early age, though against my wish at that time, and my class teacher in primary 4, Engineer J.N. Bamboye, who laid the foundation for my love for learning. To all my teachers at Baptist Grammar School, Odeaye, thank you for challenging me to think critically and for pushing me to reach my full potential. I thank all my lecturers at undergraduate and postgraduate levels for inspiring me to delve deeper into my chosen field of study. I want to especially express my heartfelt appreciation to late Professor K.O. Ikpimuroti, my undergraduate, master's, and PhD project supervisor. His commitment to excellence and unwavering support helped me develop the skills and discipline needed to succeed in the academic terrain. Painfully, you are not alive today to witness one of the major outputs of your handiwork. In the same vein, I wish to acknowledge my PhD co-supervisor, Professor C.E. Ademola. Thank you, ma'am. An immemorable debt of appreciation goes to all the former vice chancellors of this great university for their contributions to my educational development as listed. I also wish to express my deepest appreciation to the current Vice Chancellor, Professor Adenike Temidayo Oladiji FAS, under whom I served as Chairman Committee of Deans. Your exceptional leadership and unwavering dedication to academic excellence, capped with uncommon humility, are worth mentioning. Permit me to also use this opportunity to appreciate some members of this great university, which I had the opportunity to interact with and learn from. They include, among others, both past and present principal officers of the university, past and present deans that I served with, and some notable professors as listed. I thank all the past deans of the Fund School of Sciences as listed, and in particular Professor O.K. Koriko, my predecessor, for their diverse and enormous contributions to my development at all levels. I equally appreciate my successor, the incumbent Dean of School of Physical Sciences, Professor F.B. Ademola, for his support, both physically and spiritually, when I was the Dean of SOS and SPS, and even now that I am one of his subjects. I am equally very grateful for the love and support of the current head of Department of Chemistry, Professor A.O. Adebayo, and all staff, both serving and retired, as listed, and students of the department. I want to appreciate and especially thank Professor A.E. Okorunko and Dr. G.A. Idowu for their roles and support towards the success of today's event, the Vice Chancellor. I equally request to recognize and appreciate my close associates, some of whom are my senior colleagues as listed. Also acknowledge my friends and colleagues at Olusegun Agagu University of Science and Technology, Oktopa, as listed, and other institutions, including Professor Kayode Adebowale, FAS, VC, University of Ibadan, among others, as listed. I equally recognize all members of FUTA Alumni Association worldwide. Thank you for your support. I wish to recognize and express my appreciation to all my research collaborators as listed. Thank you all for your contributions. The contribution of my postgraduate students to my research efforts had been tremendous and have significantly enriched this lecture. I cannot but recognize the special roles of Dr. A.O.A. Bigbami and Dr. G.A. Idowu in this journey. Your innovative ideas, rigorous research, and critical thinking abilities have not only contributed to the success of our projects, but have also pushed the boundaries of knowledge in our field in meaningful and significant ways. Thank you very much. Permit me to also use this opportunity to appreciate the university management for granting me and my collaborators the FUTA Senate Research Grant in 2009. Thanks to TED Fund for the IBR grant of 2015 and 2023, as well as a traveling grant for an international conference in Malaysia in 2015. I equally thank the federal government of Nigeria for the postgraduate scholarship award for my master's program in 1991, as well as FUTA management for the University Scholar Award of 1986-1987 academic session, which in immeasurable ways assisted me financially in my final undergraduate year. My appreciation also goes to the management and staff of UNESCO IHE Institute of Water Education, DEF, the Netherlands, for granting me the opportunity and support to undertake a course in environmental monitoring and modeling, which further widened my horizon in my choosing area of research, area of interest, and for which I remain eternally grateful. I am particularly indebted to Honorable Niyi Jones Akinyuga and the Najko family, including Dr. Edebi Vikosin, Mr. Shino Badamosi, Mr. Dekunle Bakari, and Mr. Ademola Onotude, for accepting me in 1997 to have what I consider another industrial experience, which gave me the required skill to navigate seamlessly through my chosen field, and also enhance my service delivery to the university system. I am so grateful. I equally appreciate some organizations and companies, including Shell Petroleum Development Company, SNEPCO, Total Energies, Federal Ministry of Environment, Ondo State Ministry of Environment, Feedmont International Limited, Browning Nigeria Limited, and Sustainable Environmental Consult, among others, for engaging me directly and indirectly in their various environmental studies and reports review. I recognize all members of my professional bodies, including Institute of Public Analysts of Nigeria, Institute of Chartered Chemists of Nigeria, Chemical Society of Nigeria, among others. I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt appreciation to some special friends for the incredible impact they have had on my life and family. They include Mr. and Mrs. Yomi Adenuga, Pastor Agbola Ikunyiminu, Mr. Femi Adetimenyi, Dr. Shola Olofeso, and others as listed. I also wish to recognize all my friends and classmates in the primary and secondary schools and the entire Baptist Grammar School Old Student Association 81 set as listed, ably coordinated by Otumba Kowe Timidayo. I also recognize all members of Forum of Odeaye Development Association currently being led by Chief Engineer Henry Olatujoye, and in particular, the Akure branch of the association, ably led by Chief S.K. Akinagbe. Thank you all for your support and the honor accorded me today. To my large families of the Redeemed Christian Church of God that have made special impact in my spiritual life, I sincerely appreciate you for your prayers and love. In particular, I express my gratitude to all my pastors as listed, the RCCG Men's Fellowship of the King's Sanctuary, as well as the Women and Youth Fellowship members, some of whom are present in this lecture. All members of RCCG family in Futa, I thank you all. The Vice Chancellor. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to express my appreciation to my God's-given children, Engineer Oluwashem Caleb, Dr. Oluwadara Dokas, and Master Ayomido Faith, and for their love and understanding. May the grace of Almighty God be sufficient for you always. Amen. Finally, my deepest appreciation and heartfelt gratitude go to the great woman of a common virtue, my confidant, my love, and my wife, Mrs. Fumilayo Christiana Ayoni Aiyesanmi, for the incredible love, support, and companionship she has brought into my life. The love and kindness you show every day are a testament to your beautiful heart. I am continually inspired by your resilience, dedication, prayers, and your ability to bring out the best in me. Thank you for tolerating me in all ways and for your labor of love. You shall continually be appreciated. The Vice Chancellor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for listening.
Another round of applause for our lecturer. Inaugural lecture. It could only have come from a Professor Aiyesanmi. Thank you, Professor, for this great thing. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is customary for us to recognize some dignitaries in our midst. So permit me to run through this not too long list, as we must recognize some of the functionaries in our midst. I welcome and recognize the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, Professor Kayode Ademola, FAS. Is actually our own, loaned to UI. I also recognize Professor Emmanuel Adedayo Fashakin. He's a former active Vice Chancellor of FUTA and the Chairman, Governing Council of the recent Polytechnic of Ekiti State. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We have with us Professor Olatunde Arayela, his former Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic FUTA. Thank you, sir, for always coming. We have also a former registrar, a professor, my own sister and friend, Professor Modupe Olayinka Ajayi, former registrar. Thank you, ma'am. Also, we have today a former university librarian here in FUTA, acting university librarian, Professor Adenike Oluremi Abiolu. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. We have with us also a distinguished professor of chemistry, Professor Ishak Adekunle Amao, the former acting chairman of council for ABU, Zaria. We have also with us today Professor Moses Oludare Adewale, my own elder brother, is a former member of council in Futa, Professor Adewale. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Sitting beside him in the owner's corner is Professor Olubode Kolade Koriko, is a former member of council here in Futa. Thank you, sir, for coming. We also have a former chairman committee of deans, Professor M.A.K. Smith. Thank you, Professor Smith, for joining us today. We have with us Mr. Feyi Adetula. He is a pioneer registrar, Federal Polytechnic Ile-Oluji. He is one of us here in Futa. Thank you, sir, for being with us. We have a distinguished council member, an alumnus, in person of Dr. Olaito Adeshomoju. Thank you, Dr. Crown, for joining us. We also have with us today Pastor Ademola, the former president, Futa Alumni Association Worldwide. Thank you, Pastor Ademola. Ladies and gentlemen, we have many members of the Futa Alumni Worldwide, but I believe that they are all ably represented by Mrs. Bukola Olasalahu, the Vice President, Futa Alumni Worldwide. Thank you, Madam. We have with us today a former Deputy University Librarian in Futa, Mrs. Zainab Falaye. Thank you, Madam, for always coming. We are grateful. We have with us Venerable Professor Lasayinde, the former chaplain of the Chapel of Faith, Futa. He was the pioneer chaplain. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I can't find the back today. We have also one of the persons we refer to as our living legend, Professor Labunmi Lajide. Professor Labunmi Lajide, thank you, sir, for coming. We have with us one of the persons we also refer to as our senior citizen, Professor Olufolaji. Professor Olufolaji, thank you very much for joining us. We have with us also from Olusegun Agagu University of Science and Technology, Okitipupa, Dr. Hassan Ayedo. Dr. Hassan Ayedo, thank you very much for felicitating the inaugural lecturer. We have Professor Suleiman Olagbaye, also from Ekiti State University. Thank you, Prof. Dr. Edebi Vaikosen, from Niger Delta University. Thank you, all the way from Niger Delta University. We have with us some of our traditional leaders. We have with us today High Chief A.K. Akindeyin, the Gahe of Aye Kingdom. Aye Kingdom. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for joining us. Chief J.A. Arowojolu, the Arogun of Ojomo family. Thank you, Chief, sir, for coming. We have with us Chief Muritala Adegbaju, the Baale of Aletieri of Ifeland. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. We have with us Honorable Ladi Okuniga, is a special advisor to the governor on digital in Ondo State. Honorable, thank you very much, sir, for being with us. We also have with us Honorable Barrister Folorun Sholadoyin, is a past commissioner for Ede, Osun State. Thank you, sir. Honorable and Barrister. We have also today with us Mr. Aiyesanmi Abayomi. Thank you, sir. We have Mr. Shola Akingbade. Mr. Shola Akingbade, thank you for coming. We have Mrs. Sholaju Arikawe. Thank you, ma, for joining us. We have with us the Permanent Secretary, Public Service Reforms and Strategy on those states, Mr. Wale Omomewo. Thank you very much, sir. I had to put the sign language on your name to be able to call it. We have with us His Royal Highness Oba Kayode Orewole, the Olu of Ogbagba, Ile-Ife, Kábíyèsí. Thank you for coming, sir. Adiapelori. We have Chief Henry Olatujoye, the President, Forum of Odiaye Development Association. Thank you, Mr. President, Excellency, for coming. We have Pastor Ayodele Oluwatosin, is the pastor in charge of Ondo Province 13. Thank you, Pastor, sir, for coming. We have Justice Iku June with us this evening. We have also Mr. Anthony Aiyesanmi. Mr. Anthony Aiyesanmi, thank you very much for coming. We also have I Chief Ilori with us this evening. Thank you so much for coming. We have some members of the immediate family of the inaugural lecturer. We have Aiyesanmi Oluwadara, daughter of inaugural lecturer. Thank you very much. We have Aiyesanmi Ayomidotun, the son to the inaugural lecturer. Thank you, Ayomidotun. We also have with us Engineer Aiyesanmi Oluwaseun, the son of the inaugural lecturer. Thank you very much. We have in our midst a woman that the inaugural lecturer described as a great woman of uncommon virtues. In his own words, he described her as his confidant, his love, and his wife. We have with us Mrs. Fumilayo Aiyesanmi, the wife of the inaugural lecturer. Thank you very much, ma'am, for tolerating our inaugural lecturer. That was the way he wrote it. And thank you for bringing out the best in him. Thank you very much. We have with us the friends and family members of the inaugural lecturer. We recognize you and we thank you for coming today. We also thank and recognize the academic and professional colleagues of the lecturer. We recognize members of the RCCG family. If you are from the RCCG family, please wave your hand so we will see you. Thank you. I join you also. We have with us the members of the FUTA alumni. If you are a member of the alumni, please also wave so that we can see you. I join you as honorary member. We have with us gentlemen of the press. We recognize and thank you. And I thank, finally, the most important group of persons here present today. Great Futarians. You are the most important and you are the best. Thank you for coming.
Before we put a wrap to this very, very important occasion, I'd like to make the following announcements. Immediately after the procession and the anthems, we'll respectfully implore all professors and directors to take this entrance. Other guests, we expect that they will take that penultimate exit, while other staff will take the direct exit directly opposite me. Some persons will attend to them, while the students are expected. I will announce that later. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my Lord Spiritual and Temporal, I implore all of us to rise for the FUTA as well as the national anthem of our great nation. We God blesses on our side, we shall God blesses. Futa for every liar. I'd like us to remain standing for the procession of the Vice Chancellor to exit the auditorium. We will remain standing. The students are expected at the Hilltop Auditorium.
Hello, my bound. Only one.